Hey everybody, it's Leon with Wide Awake Productions, and on Quick Thoughts today we're going to talk about thinking out of the box. Just before we do that, I'd like to thank a lot of people who've joined us from the province of Alberta. These aren't in any specific order. Colin, Dave, Cam, Connie, who else is there? Merv, Natalie, Sean, and there's quite a few of you. I think there's about 25 other people. So I just wanted to put a shout out to you guys and thank you for your support. Thanks for sharing the videos. If you like the channel, if you're watching us on Facebook, on Wide Awake Productions page, welcome. If you're watching us on YouTube, welcome as well. Feel free to share this video. Feel free to like. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you ring the little bell so you get notifications. I hope to be doing at least one video a week, usually on Wednesday. I might start popping in, that would be probably Deep Thoughts, will be on Wednesday. And on Mondays will be probably Quick Thoughts. So again, feel free to share them. Thank you guys so much for your support and for helping this kind of movement out. And remember, you have great worth. So just before we get on to talking about what we're going to talk about today, what I want to do again is promote another book, and that is by Jordan Peterson. Now, Jordan Peterson is quite a big name right now in the old deep thought kind of thinking school out there, or what they call it is the intellectual web, I guess, the dark web, and it's about the best thinkers on the planet. And Jordan Peterson has this book called 12 Rules for Life, The Antidote to Chaos. I strongly recommend you pick up this book if you're starting self-discovery. And remember, the rule number one for coming back to yourself is you have great worth, whether you feel it or not. He's got a lot of great resources online, like personality tests. I think his personality test is like $10. It's 100 questions. Definitely check that out online. I'll leave a link down here so you can find that out. And he's got other programs you can do too to help you kind of negotiate and really get the emotional history of your life. The toughest thing about coming back to yourself, because we're on all the time, which you've heard me say hundreds of times, is the capacity to really cut a chunk of time out for yourself once a week, where you get a chance to do some self-reflection and self-discovery and some personal work on your own personal life so you can slowly shift. Remember, this whole channel is A, about you, and B, it's really about a movement, about trying to help people see other people walk on this bloody planet just being themselves. Not doing our lives, being our lives. And I can guarantee you guys that a lot of times when people think that they have it together, most of us don't have it together. That includes the guy standing in front of you. That's why I'm not here as the academic. I'm here in the trenches with you. I want to show you what it means to just be, I guess, show you raw humanity and let you know it's okay to be exactly where you are. I know most of us don't like that kind of concept because we're worried about being exposed, but we have a lot of guns against us. And so the idea about this particular quick thought video, which is thinking out of the box, well, there's a bit of a glitch that comes with that. And I'm going to kind of describe that to you right now, okay? So let's get going. So what you can see behind me here, and some of you have seen this online, and we do a lot of, or at least I like to bring in a lot of psychological tests and stuff when I'm doing courses, because it gives you kind of interesting feedback, but it also activates a different part of your brain. So right here, what you can see is basically 9 circles. What you do is you get 4 lines. You can draw 4 lines, and you're trying to connect all the dots with just using 4 lines. And you have to make it a continuous line. You can't just go like 4, like one here, one here, one here, one here. I don't think it's going to work either way, but let me show you what I mean. So for instance, if I start here and I decide to do a line straight down like this, then I have another line that goes like this, that's 2 lines. Another line up here, that's 3 lines. Another line across here, that's 4 lines. But I missed out the center dot. Okay? Or I could try it this way, go across this way to here, back there, that's 2 lines. Back up here, that's 3 lines. Back up here, that's 4 lines. But then I miss this dot. So the problem with thinking out of the box, and remember I kept telling you guys, you're not your brain, but unfortunately brain has resources in it. And the way of thinking out of the box, it can't think out of the box when the resources you're needing are outside of the parameter of the programming system that you have in this brain of yours, because it's stuck. So if you've seen this particular game, and I want you to try it. You can just get a piece of paper, 9 dots, black dots, space them evenly apart like you see on the board behind here. And I want you to try it and do 4 lines and see whether or not you can connect all of the circles using 4 lines. You probably won't be able to, but I want to give you a chance, so stop the video right now, or at least pause it, and go try that. So when we talk about thinking out of the box, the problem with thinking out of the box is that, like I mentioned, inside of my mind, I have, when we were talking about conscious versus subconscious, you have 90% of your information that's stored in your brain. And that's where your brain goes to when it's trying to figure out things. And it goes back to all these little reference points, okay? So the first thing your brain will do when you look at this particular little test, or whatever way you want to look at it, is it's going to look for shapes. That's kind of the primal part of the brain. It's kind of like when you see faces in rocks, or you see faces in trees, or you project onto things. That's your brain wired for shapes and design automatically, and it goes through that primary style of development. So the first thing you see here is what's called a square. Oops, a square, right, like this, right? It's a square. So even though I'm talking to you right now, what's happening in your brain when you first saw this was a square. And what's a square look like? Well, it looks like a box. Why? Because it's square. So if I give you the rules for the game, which is use 4 lines, draw 4 lines in connecting the dots, and you have to make sure that they connect through all the dots, your brain gets stuck. Now, why does it get stuck? Well, because its resources inside itself comes up with a square image, and within that square image, it's confined to its capacity to know outside of the box information. So immediately, and I've done this hundreds of times, but I'll explain something in a second here. So if I wanted to try to do it with 4 lines, what I could do is, like I said, 1 across here, 1 across here, 1 across here, 1 across here. But the problem with that, of course, is I miss out the center one. So the other option is, let's try to mix it up a little bit. I'll try to cross this way, then I'll try it straight up this way, then I'll try it straight across this way, and then straight across this way. Now that's 4 lines, but I'm missing these 2, right? Now the reason why my brain's doing that is because I'm looking at a box. That's the first thing. Subconsciously, I'm stuck by the boundary of the visual imprint of years of seeing what squares look like, which makes me in a kind of stuck within a visual parameter. So when I hear the instructions from Leon, and Leon says, use 4 lines to connect all the dots, because I'm stuck within that visual parameter of a box, I don't know if there's some way of doing it outside of the box, because there's a conflict that happens to my head thinking that if I do it outside the box, I'm cheating in some way. So how would you do it? Well, to think out of the box, well, that's the first thing you have to do is literally throw all your concepts away by consciously being aware that you're stuck in parameters. That's why when you're in crisis, it's really hard to see other options, because you're stuck within the parameter of the crisis, inside of your mind, and not to mention the emotions and the feelings that are hooking into you, so they're making everything heightened. Because of the crisis of that, you can't see outside of the parameters of the situation that you're in. So thinking out of the box, well, what's that look like? Well, the first thing you're going to do, you're going to come down here, which is outside of the box. You're going to go all the way up here. Then you're going to come straight down here outside of the box. You're going to go straight up here, and then you're going to go straight across. And that's the only way you're going to be able to solve that, by outside of the box thinking. So the key part about that is when you guys are looking at your lives and you can't quite figure things out, this is kind of the same dynamic when I'm talking to people and I say the phrase, anger is not, as a primary emotion, anger isn't about being mad. And people just scratch their head. It takes a long time for them to get what I'm trying to say. Because anger isn't about just being mad. Anger is about being solid. I know what I know. That way I can say no. And I don't feel bad about it. I don't react to it. I'm confident and I'm solid enough with what I know as being good quality information that's helped me in the past, that I can, when somebody's trying to manipulate me or control me or make me feel guilty or responsibility for things that I ought not to be responsible for, I can stand there without second guessing myself and feeling bad about it and just say, no, I don't think that. Okay? So this little quick thoughts for the day is, remember, whenever you're dealing with situations, you have to almost consciously at the beginning of this whole thing start looking for options. So usually sometimes in therapy we'll say this to people, which is, have you tried all these options? And they'll say yes. And then the next thing you say to them is, do the opposite. Whatever you think you should do the opposite of what you're doing. Not necessarily saying that the opposite is the answer to the problem, but by doing the opposite, it opens you outside of the box area, so you're not stuck with inside of the parameters of your subconscious framework of how to negotiate things, and you can start seeing other options out there. I think that's the, when you look at AA and stuff like that, where they talk about, I came to believe a source outside myself, greater than myself. Well, this is kind of the same concept. When you have when you understand there's other options out there, but unfortunately with inside of myself, I'm stuck within a parameter box in regards to certain issues, certain crises, certain capacities that I can't seem to negotiate. And I don't know how to get out of the box. Sometimes if I say to people, even if they're doing this test, think outside the box, they don't know how to think about things outside of the box. And that's where the glitch is. It's not that we don't understand the concept about or understand what the person's saying about thinking out of the box. It's not knowing how to think out of the box, okay? So your little bit of an exercise for you this week is, when you're coming across something that's kind of difficult for you and you can't quite figure out the solution, first thing I want you to do is I want you to think out of the box. Well, how am I going to do that? Whatever you're doing, try doing the opposite. The opposite doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be the answer, but it'll open your brain up into looking for other options that might be out there for you to solve some problems that you might be trying to negotiate and navigate. And it won't feel familiar to you. That's one reason why we don't look outside the box. Because our familiarity programming system that we're carrying from our lives is inside our box. We need to program the brain. You are not your brain. Thanks, guys. Look forward to talking to you again.